Mainly occurs due to the breaches in procedures while conducting the transaction and data input, procedural risk, which we have discussed earlier, inaccurate, invalid amount, incorporate. I think these are the very basic details on what we have to look at it in operation control. Incorrect counterparty, incorrect amount, delay in clearing, interest charges, incorrect valid counterparty claims. Now, a very common practice in Pakistan from the people who owe you the money. They said, we'll pay you in a week's time. Or we'll make the payment next week, next month. Very common practice in the business here. The problem with that, we are running the risk of two: late payment, interest charges. So if, say for example, if we have a £20 million payment, not in our bank account, you're losing your interest on that. And that should be the amount of the loss that you're making. We should report it as a loss, not in our P&L, but in our internal management report. Because if you report it in your P&L, it's going to reflect very bad on the company. And it is not obligatory or mandatory for the company to make those, to highlight those losses in the P&L. Other way around is, for the tax saving purposes, most of the companies would like to include that. But it depends on the tax regulation in the country where you're operating. Like in England, you cannot do those things. You cannot put operational losses that are not substantiated into your balance sheet or into your P&L. It has to be substantiated first, and then you can include it. Incorrect amount, delay in clearing. A lot of the time, most of the banks take about 3 working days here. How many days? Is it 3 or 5 working days? Does anyone know 3 working days? 3 days, yeah. So for 3 days, if somebody's given you a check instead of a cash payment or internal bank transfer, we need to calculate how much we are losing on that client. And then we need to cost our product accordingly. What we need to price at for that particular client. If a client is very late in payment, incorporate that transactional loss or that loss of the interest payment into the price. That's where you will get the correct profitability for that product. Supporting infrastructure in the country. For Pakistan, at present, the main infrastructure problem is electricity, law and order situation, and IT. Now, as we're all aware, in the past few weeks, there has been severe disturbance. We need to make sure that our staff is safe, where they're coming from, what they're doing, infrastructure risk, security, government undue influence. I'm sure we know about lots of government organizations having severe problems, severe issues because of overstaffing, because of people who have been hired and are not performing the job, not capable of, or not being trained properly. My belief is you can train anyone to do anything. The problem, we don't have a training budget like we don't have an educational budget. That's the biggest issue we have in the country, is to provide training to the people who are doing the job to make them capable of performing the role. We cannot expect someone to do the work without being trained. Hacking and cybercrime, open discussion, Citigroup, BNP Paribas, HSBC, these are some of the big banks. They're called the banks that cannot fail, too big to fail. If HSBC collapses, in one night, you're talking about $5 trillion wiped out of the international balance sheet. So if you're looking at the loss of that type, it is not possible. Well, it is possible to a certain extent, but countries and organizations will not allow, governments will not allow HSBC to fail. They will inject as much money as required for that time, whatever duration, whatever limit it is. They will not allow them to fail because there are huge stakes. We already have PIGS country, I think that's terminology. It's Portugal, Ireland, Greece, and Spain. If you heard the latest news on CNN and BBC, it was all over the place that these three, Greece is going under, so is Spain, so is Ireland and Portugal. When I was at Credit Suisse, we had major instruments, debt instruments with Portugal, government of Portugal, local governments, councils, they issued bonds. And Credit Suisse was the underwriter for the bonds. They've gone down severely, 25%, 35%, 40%. So we keep them separate now. We don't keep them on our balance sheet. We just keep them separate, taking them to the loss account and saying that these are the major losses that we have made to make the tax saving. Citigroup have lost billions of dollars in the hacking crime, never published. They've always go to the media and pay them a huge sums of amount, not to get those things published because of the reputational risk. That was the main idea of Citibank, not to have the reputational risk, which is very, very important. Say, for example, you're sitting in a group of accountants and you make a mistake one day, and everyone knows at ICAP that you made a mistake. Your reputation is at stake. People know you before you meet them in the wrong picture. They will not give you the chance of re-explaining yourself. They will make a judgment on your capability and on your ability based on the perceived information. And that is the huge risk, operational risk for the companies, for the banks, for the financial institutions, where people would look at them and say, oh, now, this bank, oh no, I wouldn't go to that bank because their accounts has been hacked 20 times. So banks are very careful with that, and so as every organization should be. Similarly, it goes the other way around because everyone wants to work for multinational companies, and why is that? Future prospects, growth, they take care of their employee. Local organization, main concept among the students of CIMA, ICAP, ICMA. Local companies don't pay well. Second, local companies don't take care of you. They can ask you to walk out of the place at any time. And there is not much support and training. So these are another sort of operational risk. I mean, this is going a little bit beyond the boundary of operational risk management, but it is considered within the operational risk, your operational reputation. If you are a good company, you attract good employees. You attract good people. And that guarantees your survival in the business environment. As I spoke earlier, personal details, so personal detailed screening process, check default history, appropriate qualification, and continuous training, which is the most important. Mandatory leave. Now, in most circumstances in investment banking area or in banking, globally, excluding Pakistan, I think, and certain other countries, Sri Lanka, Pakistan, and few other places, where it is not as emphasized to take a leave away from desk. It's a huge operational risk. Say, for example, if an employee is running a fraud, he's taking out some money from each account on a specific date each year, not taking a holiday. One of the signs of loyalty that is looked at in different culture differently. One of the signs in that he's very hardworking. Well, actually, we need to question it. Is he hardworking, or is he hiding something under his desk? Is he hiding something? He doesn't want somebody else to come in, do his work, and find out what he is doing. And that's where we fail to address the problem as managers, as leaders of the organization. We give credit to the people who are working hard. Yes, we do. But we need to make sure that there are adequate controls in place, so we go in and we find out what they're doing. If they take at least mandatory in the United Kingdom, it's 10 days mandatory leave for any financial institution worker. You have to be away from your desk for 10 days. It is because of the cycle and the nature of the IT technology. When it runs, it will provide other systems to check the dates. It will provide it will provide balances. So it will come up within 10 days. That's the general consensus. There are big losses, there are major losses people have done. One of the example is the Barings Bank.